thank you everybody for joining here us at Amalgama Interviews. Here with me is Tomas Ocampo, a close friend of us and also an investor in renewable energies. Thank you very much, Tomas, for joining us here at Amalgama Interviews.
No, happy to be here, Jose.
Great, awesome. Would you like to introduce a little bit more about yourself and talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, totally. So I started my career as a financial lawyer, working in energy investments, like clean energy investments. I work on the structuring of the two first wind farms in Argentina, and kind of like after that, I discovered the huge potential that basically during our lifetime, like we're gonna transition the whole world from fossil fuels into renewable energy and electric cars. And I decided to focus all my energy on like working on that space, like making things happen faster, like contributing in any way I can on that space. And basically after that, I did an MBA at Stanford and a master's in energy, focused on batteries and solar panels. And since then, I've been working entrepreneurially, like both creating companies and investing in climate, like renewable energy and like kind of like business models around reducing carbon emissions, and mainly in trying to bridge the gap between like the US and the developing world in terms of climate technology.
Great, awesome. Here in Amalgama, we have a lot of startups and entrepreneurs that are looking for investment. Though you're not an investor of startups and entrepreneurs, you have a lot of experience investing. So in line with that, I'd like to ask you, like, you have to recommend someone that's looking for investment, what to do or what would be good for them to do. What would you tell them?
Yeah. No, I'm an investor in startups and entrepreneurs. The thing is that I focus mostly on like climate kind of like investments, other than like, I don't know, like social media and like other type of companies. What would I recommend like entrepreneurs when they're fundraising? I think the most important thing for me is to take fundraising as a process. Like if you're a CEO of a startup and like you have like 1,000 things to do, like forming, like kind of like growing your team, finding clients, like if you still trying to find like product market fit for your product, like iterating on your product and kind of like interviewing potential clients and trying to sell. So you have like thousands of things to do, and all of them are like really important and priorities. And then you have like another one that it's fundraising. So I think first, as like in anything that you want to do right, like you need like a plan and a process. Like the plan and the process are not like the guarantee of success, but like not having them basically like increases the chances of failure. So like the first like kind of like advice, or whenever I talk to like an entrepreneur that it's like kind of like it's asking me or for connections or like general advice on raising money, it's okay, let's like try to establish a process that generally is really similar to a sales process. Like you try to generate kind of like the top of the funnel, like connections to investors, and like how to develop like, let's say like a list of like 200 investors that you're going to reach out. And then also kind of like manage it as a process in the sense to like try to constrain it in time. So you do like a lot of work up front to like, let's say, develop this list of investors and like the documents that you're going to present investors, kind of like background on those investors. So then you tailor your documents and your conversations depending who you're meeting. But you want to do all that work up front. So then when you launch the process and you start talking to people, you do it kind of like in a constrained amount of time that both makes your time allocation more efficient, and second, generates basically like fear of missing out between the investors, between the people you're reaching out. You don't want to kind of like be like raising money kind of like indefinitely in time. Like you want to be, when you're building your startup, if they're like investors that you're interested, building long-term relationships with them, and also to make sure that kind of like who are the like investors that can actually like bring value to your company.
Great. So it's really interesting what you say about like investigating the investors and also adapting like the information they're gonna present and the pitch to the investor that you're talking to. Like I thought of the preparation of documentation and that at the beginning, just like as a general process, and not something that would be like targeted and tailor-made for each investor. And it's really insightful.
Yeah, I think it's important to so you do like all the work up front to like develop your funnel, like you have your like list of investors that you want to reach out, plus like the kind of like documents, like the pitch, for example, to like pitch your company. And then yeah, you want to do research on like the investors you're gonna reach out, because maybe some of them you have like a personal connection, and you can kind of like point that out when you meet, or like you have something in common, like you both like whatever, playing golf, or like you both are like part of the same organization, club, or something that you can kind of like connect personally. There's like a podcast interview where they talk about like your business model. And I recently had a company that's raising money that basically like I introduced them to a fund, and then that fund basically was like, hey, like have you thought about this other investor? Like he's tweeting all the time that like a company like the one you're building should exist. So like you should just talk to him, because basically like that's like a match made in heaven. Like this person is looking for this opportunity. And as long as you have like an awesome team to do that opportunity, that person, he or she, will probably invest. So I would say it's like developing that funnel, and then all the documents, and then yeah, like research. Kind of like you can tailor a little bit your documents for like each investor, or like your most important investors when you're going and meet with them. And yeah.
Great. And then if you'd say like which are like general mistakes or things that that maybe startups or entrepreneurs do when they look for investment that you would advise them not to do, what would you say?
First is like the opposite of what I just said, kind of like not taking it as a process and like letting like drag fundraising forever, or like not do it like as a one concentrated effort. So then you enter in these loops that you kind of like never close, like you never like get to a point that there's like urgency to like kind of like sign documents and like invest. So I would say not running a process and letting the thing like run forever. That's an issue. The other issue, I think it's important to like develop long-term, even though I say like it's a process and it's like kind of like constraining time. I think it's important to develop long-term relationship with your investors, like the investors you want. Like let's say there's like a couple investors that are in your space and like you would like to have them in your company. It's like, don't reach out to them for the first time to ask money. Reach out to them early while you're like thinking about this idea, or you're starting to develop the company, and like you could get like great advice from them, and it works both ways. They get to know you and gives them information in the future if they want to invest, and you also like learn about them. And if you eventually want to work with them, have them on your board, or even have them as investors. And sometimes that doesn't work, and you can still pitch them in the future when you're doing a round. That's fine. But I would say that's like another one. And then there's like specific mistakes. I don't know. Let's say you have like one kind of like great investors that you want in your company who is like interested in investing. Sometimes kind of like you get excited, or like this happened to me. Like you get excited that a person is like potentially investing, but it's not committed yet. And then you want to use kind of like, hey, that this person is in, so like you should come in. You try to generate like kind of like fear of missing out to like with kind of like those endorsements that you start having. I think just be mindful of that, because like just be sure that they are committed, because it can go both ways, you know. But I don't have like a general. I think that's like particular for every opportunity, and like you sort of know if the person is committed or not. I think that decision to leverage those situations or not is really personal, depends CEO. There are CEOs that are way more kind of like pushy and sellers, and there's others that like run the process like a little more conservatively. But I've seen like all of those work, all of those like made mistakes. Also like don't, like another mistake, and I think entrepreneurs in general are like really resilient. Don't get discouraged. You're gonna hear like a lot of no's, and like all the successful companies, you hear that they listen to like most of your answers are gonna be no. Just like don't get discouraged by that, because most like great startups in the beginning sound like a stupid idea. So like it's like you're not gonna do like a super successful startup with an idea that it's mainstream. Like it has to be contrarian. So like an idea to be contrarian, like most people will tell you that it's stupid what you're trying to build. So that's another one. Just don't get discouraged.
Believe in the company and believe in your startup and what you're building.
Yeah, once you committed to it, like go 100% forward, you know, like on building it. But I don't know, most entrepreneurs are like that. Like people who are not like that are like just not entrepreneurs. Like they go and do something else because it's like a pretty rough road.
Perfect. Yeah, totally agree. And it's true that that you receive a lot of no's and a lot of discourage. So it's really important to stay attached and continue walking. And I liked very much what you said about making sure that you're doing this like in a constrained amount of time, and that you're not doing this forever. Because if not, it's like you don't have that urgency to close. That's I really liked that what you said. But well, if you have to say like maybe something extra or some piece of advice or something else that you want to add, that you want to say to somebody that's looking for investment, what do you say?
For me, it's really useful to discuss with like potential investors, like openly, what are the challenges of your business, because then you get to really know them, like see what are the real like kind of business judgment. So you get to know if like you really want them in your cap table, you really want them potentially in a board, and you get to build a relationship. You get to kind of like give them like agency to investors, so like they know they can like add value to your company and give them that permission. So I would say like take all these conversations both as a potential kind of like opportunity to like get them to get to know you, but also you get to know them. It's kind of like a process that runs both ways. And now that there's like so much capital available in the market, it's actually it's like not that it's easier to raise money right now. There's like a lot of great entrepreneurs, but there's a lot of capital and there's like a lot of noise. So it's like, I think approaching the process, approaching the kind of like fundraising, both as a way of like selling your company, but also you learning about the investor, like the other person, is really important, and would like add value kind of like both ways.
Yeah, it's true that many times we think that that we want the investor to choose us, but we are also choosing investor, and we are also choosing who's going to be part of our company. So it's
totally. And
it's totally that way.
Yeah, no, and like an investor is like an employee that you cannot fire. So
Exactly.
It's like you're gonna, once you take their money, you're gonna have them around for a while. It's like, that doesn't mean like you have to talk to them all the time or whatever, no, but like they're gonna be there. So it's like really important who you choose your investors to be. And like all my mistakes that I have made in the past, like a lot are related to like who did I take money from, and it's like, yeah, it's gonna be like your long-term partners. So I would say that's an important one. Like don't be desperate for the money. Just like, and things work better when you take it that way, you know, like people notice that you have like confidence in your company, that you're gonna like be really careful on like every step of the process, even from who you take money from, and that is gonna reflect on everything else. So I would say that is important.
Great, awesome. Thank you very much. Tomas, for your time and for joining us here. And well, it was a pleasure having you at Amalgama Interviews.
Total pleasure, Jose. Go Amalgama.